Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of The Development Project. If this is your first time listening, my name is Caden, and across from me is Tristan. So, Tristan, what's up? How you doing?
Not a lot, man. Started in August, so August is here. It's been a good month so far. It's actually felt a little bit cooler. I don't know if you feel like that, but I feel like it's been cooler. So
yes, it's so nice. I drove here with the windows down for the first time in probably the last 4 months because, when it's super hot outside, you don't want to roll the windows down because then it's just blowing a bunch of hot air in your face and you're like, that's not comfortable.
So I have to say, true story, I actually am not a big roll down the window if it's much over 45 miles per hour, because I feel like now it's just an annoyance. I can't hear anything. It's messing up my hair now. But yeah, if I'm like a casual 45 or lower, I'll definitely roll down the windows.
I have a lot more hair now than probably I've had even in the past 2 years.
Here's another funny story. Guess what my first car was?
What?
A convertible.
Oh yeah.
But back then I had the Bieber hair.
Yeah.
And so I didn't put any product in my hair. And so I wanted it to just flow.
Yeah.
Well, now I put product in my hair and I want it to stay where it's at.
Yeah.
Because I have, I'm getting bald. Receding hairline.
Yeah.
Try to hide those things.
My hair's so thick and heavy, and my girlfriend told me the other day, she was like, why don't you put anything in your hair? And I'm just like, wild stallion over here, that's what I felt like in the car today, blowing in the breeze, driving here. It's cool outside. Cool for us is 75 degrees when it's been in the 90s. But
yeah, I feel like this could be a good sponsorship for us. Some hair product. Anybody out there who wants to get us a hair product?
Give me some of that matte finish into the locks.
That'd be good.
Man, it's a beautiful day. I kind of wish we were doing this podcast outside, going on a walk.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Find a way to. Might have to move outside when it starts to get a little bit nicer.
I like that.
Yeah, it's perfect weather, and it's that type of weather where you just want to put on an awesome t-shirt and walk outside in your shorts and have a good time and get tan. And what better way to do that than wearing an LRX t-shirt, which happens to be
good plug,
our sponsor of the podcast. LRX is our new sponsor with the podcast. So we love having them aboard. They have graciously, chosen to partner with us and help us with getting the podcast going. So LRX, they have a mission of having different movements associated with each of the collections that they put out, a mission to help you become a better version of yourself. So if you guys want to hop on over to lrxapparel.com and use code LIVEPRESCRIBED, you can get 15% off of your first order. Gather some of their cool stuff. Use that next time you want to go outside for a walk. Things are getting a little bit cooler, so maybe some joggers, hoodies, sweatshirts, all that kind of fun stuff. So go give them some love and let them know it's from us. So, okay, our conversation today is centered around, oh man, gotta love a good alliteration, contagious coaching culture, the 3 C's.
I love that.
Cool. So go ahead and fill the listeners in on what that means for us.
Yeah, so contagious coaching culture. So kind of just setting a positive environment, a growth mindset environment, never being complacent, really bringing in the right people who are there for the right reasons. I'm sure we'll dive into it a lot, but if people might think, well, what are the wrong reasons? It's become very popular, unfortunately, in CrossFit spaces specifically, that a lot of people just want to coach for a free membership or so they can work out. And basically they just have other priorities, other agendas. And it's not saying that that's a wrong thing, but sometimes if that really is the main reason, over time, it can definitely lend its hand at more passive coaching or not being present all the time. And then a lot of times, because those coaches are generally people who have full-time jobs, they kind of let their personal lives come into coaching instead of leaving it at the door like we ask, our members to do and stuff like that. So it's just really creating a good growing environment, good feedback, being able to talk to one another, learn from one another, constantly improving ourselves and bettering ourselves. So that's the long-winded answer. We'll get into our points today, but that's contagious coaching culture.
Yeah, and this is a top-down approach. So when you guys are listening to this, think top-level management working its way down and kind of bleeding into the coaching staff. This is what we mean. We have 5 points that we're going to talk about, and each of these are pretty much those things that you at the top, if you're an owner, if you're a head coach, if you're on management staff, if you're in that sphere, these are the things that you can do to sort of trickle down into your coaches and create the contagious culture that you want to foster so that you have a good team moving forward. Mm-hmm. So we'll go ahead and get started with our first point. Lead. Do not dictate and control.
Yeah. So for me, leading, just a preface for everybody, and so we don't have to go down this trail anymore, is, for me, as you said, Caden, working from the top down is people sometimes, I think, fail to understand that being an owner of something, and specifically in this realm, being a head coach of something, those are two completely different jobs. It's not to say I'm not bragging about how long I work or how hard I work, but owning a gym is completely different from head coaching. My head coaching hours can range anywhere from 32 to 45 in a week. That's a full-time job. Mm-hmm. And I haven't done anything that reflects owning a gym yet, right? I haven't ordered things. I haven't set the schedule. I haven't done meetings with my staff. I haven't had conversations, answered emails, talked with other companies, scheduled events that we have coming up, right? So like, that's just a blink of an eye type of thing that an owner would do. And, once a gym really grows, which we are growing mm-hmm. well right now, we are in a good direction, and I love where we're going. Yeah. And every week I'm seeing like, wow, my owner list is getting bigger and bigger, and not only get bigger, but it's becoming more consistent, and it's starting to get enjoyable. Like I'm actually having to spend more time, which is a good thing, as an owner, but I still love being a coach. And so that's where I want to talk about today. Just as a coach, I'm going to be wearing my coach hat. I'm not going to try to wear my owner hat today when I'm speaking. Yeah. So from a coach hat perspective, like leading, understanding that even though that is what I am the owner, being a leader is not a boss, right? And I tell this to all of you coaches. I don't ever want you to look at me as a boss. We are all coaches. I'm just leading us as coaches, right? I'm not trying to dictate or control anyone. We're trying to learn together. We're trying to, make our mistakes together, but help each other. If there are mistakes that are had, let's fix them together. Let's talk about them together. It's not looking over someone's shoulder, micromanaging, those kinds of things. So that to me is leading. It's not always saying you're wrong, you're right. But it's about having open dialogue and conversation and things like that. And more or less, I think we have another point, but not asking anyone to do what I wouldn't do. Yeah. Right. And it's just leading by example. There's a lot of different leaderships out there. My wife would be the number one person to talk about, right? She studied leadership, mm-hmm. Lots of different ways to lead. For me, it is definitely leading by example. One other way, and for me, when I first started a gym, I didn't have any choice. I was the only coach. I was working all the hours. And then unfortunately, when I did first get to hire my first few coaches, unfortunately, it was at that time so nice to finally have a morning off, finally have an evening off. And I didn't do a good job of leading them, as in helping them become better coaches. I kind of looked at their resume or took them at their word that they knew what they were doing. And that way I could actually just come home and unplug. And not that that's a wrong thing, but that's not being a leader. And so what I was doing at the time that I would still give myself a little credit for is I was expecting or hoping that they would understand and learn by taking my class and seeing how I coached, and then trying to kind of emulate that in their own way. And that at that time was the only way I could really lead them to be better coaches. And I think I had a good conversation with Bran. I know we've talked a lot. I know Bran has told me, without any conversation of her and I having, like when she came to M4G as an athlete, she became a better coach by taking my classes. So there is a way that I was still leading, even though I don't think it was the best way. That was the only way I could do it at the time.
Yeah, and that's something that you want to have trickle down into the other coaches too. You want each of your coaches on your staff to be able to feel like they're becoming better coaches by taking each other's classes too.
Yep.
Yeah, not just from the one, but like taking bits and pieces from each other. I was in my clinic the other day working on some stuff, and I had coached a class before, and then Nicole had followed, and I just overheard her coaching, and she used a specific cue or description or something like that had to do with the wall ball. And I was like, ooh, I said that. And it made me feel good, because I was like, cool, that means that what I said struck a chord and it was meaningful, and then she thought it was valuable enough to want to share with the class that was after that. And she put her own twist on it and things like that, but it was still the same message, and I thought that was really cool. So I like how, that leadership to me, leadership also gives room for like reverse feedback too.
Yeah.
I as a coach might see something that you do and I'm just like, I might question it, or I might think there's a better way to do it. And I have the freedom to be able to bring that to you and be like, hey, have you thought about trying this? What do you think of it?
Well, and it approaches everything, right? I think that's kind of what you're saying, right? It's how you approach somebody. If somebody does something, let's just say you do think it's wrong, right? Let's say you see a coach do something and you're like, that's incorrect. The way to approach them is not to say, hey, you did this wrong. Hey, don't do this, do that. That's not how we do that. The way to approach that situation is to ask them. That would be one way. Hey, I saw that you coached it this way. Do you want to give me some insight as to why you went down that path? Because you might be surprised what you thought might be wrong. Once they give you their insight, you might be like, I didn't see it that way.
Yeah.
Very good. Or say something like, hey, I like that. Actually, like, even though I know that's lying, but tell them like, hey, I like that. Something that I did in my class or something that I do that really, really works too, if that doesn't work for you, is this, right? Take their problem and give them a solution, right? Don't attack them. If you're going to come up and give anyone feedback, you better have something for them in return.
Yeah.
Can't tell you how many times in previous positions, someone is so quick to tell me what I'm doing wrong and they give me nothing to fix it. And that's not a leader.
It's not leadership.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Okay. Point number 2, be intentional. Stay away from quid pro quos.
Yeah, we've talked about this in previous episodes, right? It's when we were talking about our own businesses and kind of how yours is a little bit different than mine because it's just you. I have people. For me, relationships are everything. I think we said that a long time. Relationships are everything. You don't know why someone's in your life when they're in your life. So really all I can ever say is every person you meet, just get in the habit of being intentional with them. Get in the habit to where almost being intentional is not intentional anymore. Like get in the habit of always asking, hey, how was your day? What's your name? What's your job? Right? It was so funny. Sydney and my wife went out for brunch on Sunday. And one of the first things apparently Sydney told Becky's like, we've never had the question of just like, hey, what's your job? And it's so crazy, right? Like we all just love CrossFit. We love being healthier. And I've never taken the time to just ask some people, what do you do? And unfortunately, and this is not a diss, right? We all have our likes and dislikes. I'm guilty of not really caring that much about what other people do, and to a fault. And that's my fault. And the reason why, everybody already knows what I do, right? So it's not like they're coming up and asking me. So it's because no one asks me about my job, what I do, because this is going to sound rude, but they think they know what I do, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, well, I see Tristan, so I know what he does, So it's like I never think to really ask someone else. But it's about being intentional, creating that relationship day after day after day. And basically not, hey, I'm only going to do this for you if you do this for me. That is not how any relationship is built. That's definitely not how businesses are built. And it will catch up with you eventually if you're not being intentional about something with people.
Yeah. Business relationships and personal relationships, I think, work best if you're not doing something and expecting something in return. But when both people or both parties, depending on what the situation is, recognize that they just want to give as much as they can to the other. And if they're both doing that, you're always giving 100% of what you have to the other person or the other party. And if it's back and forth like that, then the relationship can grow.
Right.
But if it's only ever one person, doing things because it's like, I'm expecting you to do some stuff, but then when that other person might not deliver on what you think you deserve, then that's when resentment and all that other stuff builds up. And that's not the type of positive contagious culture that you want in your coaching staff. You want people to feel like, yeah, I'm giving everything that I got and I know I'm getting everything in return without having to ask for it.
Here's a really good example, and I might actually throw you off on this one. What some people might not know is that you have a practice inside of my gym. Amanda now has her own business inside of my gym. And we have an agreement for, you guys having the rooms that you have. What's interesting, what a lot of people might not know is, just curious, how many members have you brought into my gym? And just be honest. Maybe 1, 2?
Yeah, it's a low number.
Okay. And that's okay.
That's not actually, now that we're on the topic.
Okay, go ahead.
let's start tracking that.
Okay, that's fine. Just fine. But for the sake of the question,
For the sake of the question, yeah.
how many of your clients, which I know, but how many of them are from my gym?
100%.
Yeah. Right? And that's okay.
Yeah.
And I told myself I would have never made an agreement with you if that wasn't okay with me. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm not but to my knowledge, I don't think Amanda's brought in any members to my gym either. 100% of her clients are my clients. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I love you both. I've created that relationship. You guys have done other things for me that means a lot to me. And again, it's not like you better do something, but I also have faith that somewhere down the road, whether it's bringing in clients, you will always be there for me.
Yeah. And
you know what I mean?
The future thinking too. And you and I have had the conversation about it. You know that my goals are very big. And that means that once school is done and once I have the time to devote to it, there will be a point when I promise people who are not members of the gym will set foot inside those walls because I'm going out and I'm getting them,
right?
Bringing them in. So it's an understanding of like, yeah, I know I'm not getting a whole bunch of benefit out of it right now, but there's the potential for it in the future. And I just want to foster growth.
And I really want to make sure that the point is, even if that does not happen, I made the decision with that being the lowest of the lowest. And if that's how it is, that's how it is. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So again, it really goes to go back, be intentional. I was intentional about the agreement I made with you. I was intentional about the agreement I made with her with no expectations in return, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that that's important. We've talked a lot about my goals lately. I won't get into them super in detail, but I've told you one of my biggest goals in life, and I can't even put a finger on why it is. There's just something, I just want to be able to employ somebody else. It's not about getting rich for me. And I really mean that. Once I make an average salary, I want to be able to give someone else that salary before I go take a second salary. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing, like being a business owner now. In fact, I mean, soon enough, we're going to own 2 businesses, each of us. You know, we're going to multiple businesses. That's pretty cool to say. Soon enough, that will happen. It is so cool to help. If you're in a position to help someone else, gosh, of course it's an opinion. That's one of the coolest things to say. Yeah. I'm in a situation, it doesn't have to mean you're rich, but I am in a situation to where I can help somebody else. That's a really cool thing to say.
There's a coach out there that wants their passion and they love to coach and they want that to be their full-time job. They want to only do that, and being able to create the opportunity for them to do that, I think that's exactly what you're trying to hit. And I think that's super cool. So we don't talk about it very often, but some people out there know, like I'm a diehard Kobe Bryant fan. So to the late Kobe Bryant, he, for the last several years after his retirement, he is on everything any interview, he always wants people to know, always let the young people know. Like he'll look at the camera and be like, I want every single one of you to know, you can reach out to me anytime. Any questions you have, it's my time now. It's my job to give that to you. You don't need to pay me. We don't need to have a private workout. Like it's my job now. I've played 20 plus years in the league. I'm out. I want to give what I know to you. It's only the right thing to do. Yeah.
You know, and I think that that's the same thing in this, be intentional. I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about. So
number 3, set the tone, practice what you preach.
So this is a little bit of what we talked about, the leading, but again, don't do anything or don't tell people to do something that you would never do. So like examples, I coach at least 2 of my morning classes. John coaches 2, you coach 1, right? I refuse to let someone else coach more of a class than I coach. It's always been my rule. Same with the evenings. I coach 2 of the latest evening classes, but I don't have any coach that coaches 3, right? There are 2, actually some nights I coach 3 evening classes, but there's never a week where I let a coach more of that class than I coach. Cleaning, right? I will admit I've gotten to a point now, just recently, where I do have a full cleaning staff. Now I pay them, right? They earn that. But throughout the last year and a half, I have at different times cleaned my own gym. And more importantly, bless our first cleaning crew. Man, they got it bad. We didn't know exactly all the things we should have. We didn't have all the money yet. My present cleaning crew, compared to that one, are spoiled. I got them. They call it Dory. I got them a nice Zamboni.
It looks like Dory from
yeah,
Finding Nemo.
yeah, just this blue
Not
little,
kidding.
yeah. So, but anyway, they just zip around, and before you know it, the gym smells and looks incredible and amazing. So yeah, it's about doing the things that you would ask someone else to do. I'm sure there's plenty of other examples.
Well, on the cleaning example, and we'll use the fact that you did used to clean the gym. Obviously, when you pay people now, that it kind of goes out the window a little bit. But I saw there was a video that Comp Train had posted of Katrin David's daughter cleaning the gym, and the description for it was that the All Blacks New Zealand rugby team, it's tradition and it's expected that the captain cleans the locker room after everybody leaves as a sign of respect and the fact that they're leading by example and they're taking care of their team. So that's kind of the same deal. If you're someone who's in charge, you better be setting the example by doing the dirty work and not just, don't point at the trash and tell your employee to pick it up without having first shown them that you've picked up the trash before.
Right. Yep. It's the small things too. And again, this is not podcast is not to tell people what they don't see, but I mean, every single day that I am in the restroom, if I see random stuff on the floor, I go ahead and pick it up. Mm-hmm. And again, it's kind of tough when you're paying a staff to do something. You don't want to go and do the work that you're telling them to do. But I think in this instance too, it's like you said, I have done it. I don't do it as much anymore, but I have done it. And the big thing is for me, what's important is I took my quarantine check. I didn't take a paycheck over quarantine, just like other people who lost their jobs. I went and took my check and I went and bought them that. Mm-hmm. That was my paycheck. Mm-hmm. But it was so it could be easier for them to clean, and so it wouldn't be as big of a deal. Anyway, I self-brag, I didn't mean to, so let's move on.
Speaking of bathrooms, I still need to learn how to change the toilet paper.
We just taught, who did I teach the other day? Kelly Grimm? Yeah, yes. I just taught Kelly. You can go back to our M4G members page, our private page. Karen has a sweet video.
Oh, really?
Of teaching everyone. Karen, you should put on another video. It would be sweet. We should actually have a tutorial on how to change the toilet paper.
If Karen doesn't do that in the next week, we'll know that she doesn't listen to our podcast.
Ooh, good plug. I like that.
Here we go, Karen.
I was giving the development athletes a hard time this afternoon, literally. And I was like, I'm going to start putting things in my Sunday live videos right in the middle, like 8 minutes, 10 minutes. And I'm going to say something. And if you don't watch it, you're going to do something wrong that week, or you're going to do something that tells me that you're not watching my videos. So
that's what our professors are doing now. They're putting blanks in their PowerPoints, and I'm just like, I can't not pay attention as well anymore.
Right.
Oh, well.
It's good. That's good.
All right. Number 4, establish your impact. So demonstrate your vision clearly.
So your vision, it's what you stand for, but also in this one, I would also say this is a big one about communication. So just being very upfront, not making your coaches, not making your people guess, right? With CrossFit, right? We had a big changing of the guard, right? From Greg Glassman to Eric Rosa. Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest things that we can already see, Eric Rosa posts all the time. And that's not the point. The point is that he's communicating with us. As an affiliate owner, I get an email from him once to twice a week now. I think I got 5 from Greg over the last several years.
That's amazing.
You know what I mean? So it's like the communication's already up. But what I'm saying is more than the communication, not only are you telling me what we're doing, but you're letting me know what your expectations are. What are we doing as an organization? So the same thing here is opening up that culture to where like everyone knows what we stand for as coaches, what we expect from our coaches, how we treat people, our 3 core pillar values up on the wall. Those things, we know what is expected of us when we walk in and we say, hey, 4:15 or 5:30 class, come on over. They know exactly what's expected of them. And I know that that's kind of an easy one, but you'd be surprised. It's again, back to my fault. When I first hired my first 3 coaches, we did not have a coaches meeting right away. It was kind of like, oh, cool. I finally have coaches. I can finally take a night off. And I kind of did that for a little while because it was just like, oh my gosh, been 80 hours every single week. And now I'm finally down to 60. This feels so nice. And I kind of, was in that pattern for a little while. And so again, it's just one of those things where now it's just different, Caden. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's not that hours are going up or down. It's that just because I'm coaching less doesn't mean Tristan's taking more nights off. Something that I vowed to you guys, which is I'm trying to shift into now, is becoming the teacher, not just the leader, right? Leading is, again, leading by example, showing you, right? Being a coach out there, having you watch me, us talk about it. But now I'm actually trying to get into a teaching mode. And so just to start, because I don't want to overwhelm myself, it's my goal. And I think I only have 2 more coaches left. Like, I want to start taking your classes. And sometimes I just take it as an athlete because it's just more efficient. But there's really a time where I want to even be taking your class from the side, like, so I can really watch, really make notes, and really help you and have a conversation afterwards and talk about those things. So again, doesn't mean that my hours go down. It's just a different way of working. It's a different way of coaching and stuff. Being a second eye almost.
Yeah. Which I think for some people might give them anxiety. It's almost like feeling like you're taking a test again or something like that. But it's the difference in my mind between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. That fixed mindset is like pass fail. Like if the head coach is watching me, like I'm going to pass this class or I'm going to fail this class based on how I perform.
Absolutely.
But the growth mindset is more or less like everything is a learning opportunity. Awesome. The head coach is taking my class. I get to perform to the best of my ability. And then afterwards, see what there is to work on, what I did well, what I might have not done well, and then grow from there.
Just like in exercise, I mean, when you stress the body, an adaptation happens. And it's not comfortable. And sometimes you're like, I don't want to do this. But I'm telling people right now, my level 2 was 20,000 times better than my level 1. And my level 1 is great. I loved it. It was so eye-opening. My level 2 was so nerve-wracking. I basically hated every single second of it. And when I walked away, I was so grateful. It literally, and I've had so many people in our gym, the first 2 weeks back, they're like, you're a different person. And they meant that in a positive way. They were like, this gym's already different. I can just tell the vibe. Our coaches meetings immediately, like, whoa, totally different. It wasn't just, hey guys, so this is what we're doing this month. What days can you work? You know, that's kind of what it was. I mean, it actually had intention behind it. And again, right, coming back to our second one, be intentional. Everything that I did from that moment on had intention behind it, had a reason behind it. And it was because of those 2 awful, awful days of somebody always watching me, telling me that was wrong, this is right. And again, not how I would want to coach somebody, but they are level 3, level 4 coaches. And that is what they're there for. They are there to tell you that is wrong, this is right, do it this way, don't do it that way, blah, 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 blah.
It's like CrossFit basic training.
Absolutely.
From the
That's
outside
a great
looking in,
way to
that's
put
what
it.
it's like. But like, yeah, I instantly saw not only the management side of things improve in quality, but yeah, for sure, the classes changed, the structure changed. We started getting back into like sort of that grassroots feel of like specific and general warm-ups. We're doing things with a purpose. And even over the last couple of weeks, we've started adding in things like, well, stimulus was something that came long before. It was after the L2,
And
but the
I'll
stimulus
be honest,
helped.
that was my idea.
Yeah.
But I mean, it kind of created that good, like it gave me that creative thought.
Yeah.
The level 2 gave me more creative ideas on my own.
Right.
And I still have to thank them for that, you know?
And then I think recently we've started doing the like picking the primary movements.
So we have a primary movement and we have
things
secondary
down.
movements.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's been very helpful as a coaching staff altogether.
Absolutely.
So last one, number 5, team growth. Create a place for open dialogue and feedback.
Yeah. So this is actually, we were getting so good at this right before quarantine. And just like every business out there, I know quarantine has just screwed everything up. But this is team bonding. This is getting to know one another. And again, it's creating relationships first. And then we can, talk about coaching and giving each other feedback and not feeling like we are being, what's a good word? Being attacked or a subject of something. Like we really are there to help one another. And again, in today's society, we are so quick to be so defensive. And I'm just saying there's coaching staffs out there that are the same way. Whether you've been doing this for this many years or you hold this certification or, well, I do this in my day job. No offense. Nothing about your day job has to do with this. So let's just leave that. Let's just leave that there. Let's just talk about CrossFit. Let's talk about how we can be better coaches. And sometimes I take that back. Certain things from people's jobs can definitely be brought in, like leadership, team development, those kinds of things. But for me, team growth is just so important because it really makes sure that complacency is not happening.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, it's so true, but every team is only as good as its weakest link. And, you know, I'm not saying that our team is perfect. It is not. It definitely has room and opportunities to grow. And I have definitely noticed that lately. And after my paternity leave here in a few weeks, we're going to be getting back to things. And it's not a threat. It's just I know that we need to grow as a team. Not necessarily one more person than the other. We can all benefit from that. And the good news is also another thing that we've talked about. We have 2 brand new coaches. Mm-hmm. And so this is a good one. Establish your impact, demonstrate your vision clearly. I know I've talked to those 2, but again, they're brand new. So it's like even making sure they really understand, like, hey, as coaches, we expect this. Mm-hmm. Something in the military, you know, that is really important is how you portray your social media or your personal life. Mm-hmm. That absolutely has a lot to do with being a coach. I would never, ever, it's not judgment. I would never tell one of my members how they need to post, but my coaches, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. If you're going to be disrespectful or if you're going to live your life in a way that's not along the lines of what we teach in CrossFit, absolutely not. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think that my coaches know that. And it's sad that I have to say I think, but I think they know that. But again, it's one of those things where it's just trying to teach and foster an environment where we really are always trying to be positive, encouraging to one another. We've talked about this in our actual coaching meetings is like, in a way, I want everyone to have the confidence that they're the best coach. Mm-hmm. But there also needs to be this level of humility to where you're not trying to one up a coach. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that happens, you know, maybe it's not intentional. Maybe you're not meaning to do it. And maybe that's not the way you meant it to come across. But again, isn't it about how the other person took it? I mean, absolutely. If that's how the person took it, then you are wrong. Mm-hmm. You did something incorrect and you need to go to that person and get in a better understanding of how they maybe need to accept that or how they need to hear that. Again, I know sometimes it's coaches take other coaches' classes, as you've already stated. And even though we're coaches, when we're athletes, we're still coaching. We have that coaching mindset. We're watching another coach go. And yeah, if you make a mistake or just do something different than what we would do, it is hard sometimes to bite your tongue. Mm-hmm. And so it's just kind of one of those things where the better you know somebody, like for you and I, right? I'm not boss, I'm just leader. You and I have a good enough relationship that if I were to take your class and I really thought something needed to be changed, man, I would wait until you were like, all right, guys, we're going to take a little break. Let's go to the bathroom. Let's do this. And when everyone dissipates, like I would casually come up to you and have a fun conversation first. And if I really thought it needed to be addressed, like then I would just say, hey, Caden, like, you know, and I know that you and I can do that. It's not saying that I can do that with every person. As a joke, everyone knows my wife's a coach. Yeah, I'm not going to say anything to Becky during her coaching. Like I will wait till I get home. Yeah. I mean, that's just the way that it is now. And she's different. And it's not just because she's my wife. Becky just being in the roles that she's in real life, that's how she needs to wait till we get home to talk about.
And some coaches cannot turn off with that switch that they turn on in the middle of something. Like I think I'm very good at turning off, paying attention to something really quickly, only focusing on that, taking the feedback and being like, okay, cool, I'll implement it now. Some people, they don't want that. They want to have the time to just do their class. And then if there's feedback to be had, have it after class when they've gone away from it and they don't have to do anything else afterwards.
Yeah. We said this previously, like some people are defensive too. Mm-hmm. And if I give you something to work on, you might be so overwhelmed by it that now it's going to take away from something else, or you are going to get so upset about it that you can't let it go now, and it's still going to affect your coaching. So again, it's just different things. One thing I did want to say about team growth, since I know this is our last one, is, you know, something that we're trying to change is offering more coaches meetings. And I know to some people, they're like, man, more coaches meetings, that's work. And for me, it's like, if that's the way you look at it, then you're on the wrong team. And that's the only thing that I can say. If you don't get excited for the opportunity to, one, meet with your coaching staff more, get to know them more, learn and educate yourself, it's almost like going to a certification. Like, that excites me when I go and I get to learn more about what I want to do. But there's other things, like, again, we had one on the schedule, but we were actually going to go and have a coach's retreat. We were going to go out, we were going to play some golf, have some food and stuff like that. And I think that stuff's important. And I think that not enough places do that. I think that really does create a more level, like, equalness. Like, we're friends, but we're also colleagues. And again, it's I said I was going to wear one hat today. Like, even though I'm the leader, when I'm talking in a coach setting, I want there to be this feeling of equalness. Unfortunately, there does have to be some times where, I do need to feel that respect from people, and I need them to be able to show me that, as an owner still sometimes there is not this equalness. And I don't mean that in, again, a controlling, dictating, call me your boss type of way.
But it has to be that way.
It has to be that way sometimes. And I do mean sometimes, because, again, there are moments when I don't want you to look at me or treat me that way, or we're not going to get what we need to get accomplished. Because, either you're going to be looking at me as like, well, I'm 10 years older than you, or I've been doing this longer, or, well, I do this in my day job. Or you're going to be afraid of me and be like, oh my gosh, she's been doing this for 7 years. I've only been doing this for 2, and neither one of those are going to be, productive to what we're trying to accomplish. So,
yeah, just like better people make better athletes, better people make better coaches.
Agreed.
So I think it's just how you foster that growth in people, and that's what's going to make the difference.
Agreed.
So awesome conversation. Thanks for listening to the podcast, guys. Hopefully that was helpful. If you want to read those, we actually made a post earlier today that have all of those listed out on our Instagram page. So just head on over there, look at that. One last time, head on over to lrxapparel.com, use code LIVEPRESCRIBE to get 15% off your order, get some of that cool swag, and hopefully the more stuff that we wear, then y'all can match us when you watch it on YouTube. Okay? Awesome. Have a good evening. We'll catch you guys in the next one.